Rich Schneiderman,
Hey, everybody.
Philip Dassing,
What's going on?
Kyle Wagner,
Hey, guys.
and newcomer Charles Wesley of
Yep,
TV Free Baltimore.
you've got it.
Yeah, man. So TV Free Baltimore, you guys have been around for about a year now?
13, 14 months we've been live streaming.
Nice. So what would you like to tell people about TV Free Baltimore? What do you guys do?
TV Free Baltimore is a live streaming broadcasting studio, and we provide a digital platform for those that the mainstream media ignores. And which local political party does the mainstream media ignore the most?
Yeah.
Starts with an L.
Libertarians, yeah.
And I'm a libertarian too. So we concentrate on local politics and local entertainment. Our streams go out once a week, about 2 hours long, 1 hour politics, 1 hour of entertainment. There's a lot of very talented local filmmakers that we've had in. And during the past election, we tried to get every libertarian we could in there. And sometimes when we're doing an interview, I say to myself, this is why I'm doing TV Free Baltimore. And we had, during the governor's race, they would not let Sean Quinn come to MPT to debate the Democrat and Republican candidates. So Sean Quinn came into our studio and he made a video asking people to call Maryland Public Television so that he could participate in the debates. He should have participated in the debates. And when he came out, I said, this is why I'm doing this. So somebody like him has a place to come to, record essentially a 30-second commercial and get it out there in social media. So we're trying to be completely supportive of the local Libertarian Party.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty awesome, dude. The local Libertarian Party definitely needs a lot of help.
Yes.
You know, yeah, right now, we're not even recognized as a party, correct? Or we're not going to be on the ballots? We don't have ballot access at the moment?
That's my understanding,
Yeah.
that the party is not officially recognized. Now, I'm old enough to remember there was a time when the Maryland Republican Party almost lost their stature in the state. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Back in the early 80s, they didn't have they were barely pulling enough to stay on the ballot. So
That's really hard. I mean, I would have to see it, because the threshold, at least now, is 1% of the highest office. So for governor, your gubernatorial candidate has to get 1%. For the LP, we were kind of right on that bubble, and I think they were thinking that we were going to get 2% or something like that this year. So there was really no fear within the local LP that we were going to lose our ballot access. And the Democrats had a very far left, very progressive candidate, and he just wasn't very popular. And the Republican governor here in Maryland just absolutely trounced him. And the LP, I guess, just got lost in the mix.
I think Sean became a victim of the anti-Trump thing. And also you had a very unique situation in Maryland where you had a Republican governor that was very popular.
Who actually had a chance of winning, you know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like a lot of libertarians thought between Hogan and the total communist Ben Jealous,
right.
You know what I mean? They would rather have Hogan. So, and then they thought, what does it matter if I vote LP because they're not going to win anyways? But
right.
I could actually choose quote unquote lesser of two evils,
right?
Whereas I do think Hogan was a little lesser, but at the same time the guy's saying it's A-OK to do the red flag law stuff, So he's definitely by no means a freedom-loving governor who respects due process.
Right, and all that said, I do think that Sean Quinn should have been allowed to debate him because the big question he wanted to ask was, okay, Governor, you say that you've made Maryland a pro-business state and you've brought all these businesses in. Just give us the top 10. And he was like, I don't think the governor has that answer. So I think he should have been allowed down at MPT. And we at TV Free Baltimore want to do everything that we can to support the Maryland Libertarian Party and also the local libertarians. I was very excited to discover you guys. You're almost the next generation. I'm about 20 years older than everybody here. So I was very excited to see people in the next generation espousing the same ideals that I discovered when I was, of college age. So very excited about you guys. I've been watching your podcast. Love them.
We learned everything from Kyle Wagner.
Yeah.
Internet, especially how to love the police.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm seeing another thing that you want to talk about is censorship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's a lot of censorship. You know, we were just talking about before the podcast. We were talking about how YouTube's censoring people. You know, how YouTube's really not welcoming content creators there with some of their new policies. And you know, this has been going on for a while. A few years ago, we were demonetized. You know.
Yeah, explain that whole situation, because I saw something flash and I didn't quite understand what you're saying. That you actually had a page that was taken down at one point.
Oh yeah, well we had a Facebook page that I started in 2010. And it grew to about I believe it was like 190 some thousand followers.
Wow!
And it would have been a million, but they cut our reach years ago. I mean, there was a time when we would sometimes reach like 1 million people in a day, and then I remember it was like they flipped the switch and our reach went down like 10% overnight.
Yeah.
You know, like by the next week it was down, and it stayed down. So I could tell like some sort of switch was pulled on like our algorithm. You know, less people were seeing our stuff.
Right.
So, you know, there was a time when we were sometimes gaining 1,000 new likes in a day.
Yeah.
And then by the end, it might take us like a month to get like 200 people. I mean, it might have been so bad that at some points where we were losing more people than we were gaining because Facebook wasn't letting new people see our stuff.
Right.
So we were actually triggering, you know, because everything you post on the internet is going to piss somebody off.
Right.
So there were probably points where we had more people dropping off than finding our page anew.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so there's definitely been a lot of censorship on us. So, I mean, they cut our reach for a while, and then eventually they just deleted our whole page. And
wow. Did they give you an explanation?
They gave us an explanation of what it may or may have not have been as to why we got deleted. You know, it was
but
in other words, it was very vague.
You feel that they did that just because they didn't like the ideas that you were espousing?
Yeah. I mean, Zuckerberg's saying recently that he wants to like limit political speech, and it's like, or he wants the government to limit political speech on social media, which, I mean, this is what he's already been doing. He doesn't need the government to help him to do that. But what my view is he wants the government to limit political speech on other social networks the same as it is on Facebook, hence cutting down his competition.
Right.
You know, that's what I think. Because, you know, you got these companies like these new sites like MeWe or Minds, you know, and from what I've heard, they're coming in about it with like a more of like a non-censorship, like freedom of speech approach for people, you know, and it would be nice for him to just knock out any competition of coming in, because that's really where Facebook's falling short. And I feel like once you get somebody notable who's you know, espousing non-censorship, you know, Facebook's going to have some trouble on their hands, I think.
Right.
Yeah, it was around the midterm elections, I think, that you guys got taken down, and like Alex Jones.
Yeah, it was like a month before the election.
Yep.
Alex Jones was taken down. A lot of high-profile pages were taken down, and they were kind of on a rampage or crusade
Alex
against.
Jones was actually like a couple months before us.
A few weeks.
It was
right?
the start of a wave of like them.
I feel like that was Alex Jones was them like testing the waters, seeing what they can get away with.
Right.
And then
I remember saying that, like, this is the bellwether. This is the canary in the cave, so to speak.
Yeah. Then like a month or two so later, you know, they just deleted
whatever.
Yeah, it was like 800 pages that they took down under the guise.
I think it was like 800 people and pages, and I think 500 to 550 of those were pages.
Okay.
So it was a lot of pages. You know,
they said they were going after fake news and fake political news in particular. And yeah, you guys, I mean, PRL got picked up in that sweep, but so did Free Thought Project.
Yep.
I remember the funniest like meme on Liberty Memes. They had like Ralph from The Simpsons is like sitting on the bus, and it's like, you know, it says when Alex Jones pages get how you feel when Alex Jones gets taken down, and it was like, I'm in danger. You know, it's Ralph saying I'm in danger, and Liberty Memes knew that they were in trouble, and then they got taken down, and that was, I don't know how many followers they had. But that was a huge libertarian meme page, so it was bad, you know. The Purge.
Do you mind if we talk about local news real quick?
Sure.
And I want to know if you guys see the same thing I do. I get home from work, I turn the news on 211, 13, and even 45. Same stories in the same sequence with the same narrative.
Yeah,
it's like, my God.
That's why I quit watching the news in 2005.
Yeah, I can't watch anymore. And when they bring up a story, like one of the ones that we've been following on TV Free Baltimore, is the General Assembly voting away the handgun review board. And if you listen to what the mainstream media says about it, and then we've had guests in there that know the intimate details, it's a completely different narrative. I mean, the mainstream media is definitely like pushing the narrative of the people that are against the handgun review board. And then we were having people in that were for preserving it. And when you hear their stories, they make complete sense. And then the mainstream media, the local news guys, it's just like they're so dismissive. They give so little information.
Yeah, because they'll fit it in like a clip that's maybe a minute and a half, if that.
Right.
And I mean, you don't really get all the side of the story, and I mean, you wonder if that's by design. Do they want to make sure that it's just like a one-sided, like, here's what's going on, and they just let it go with that, and they don't really want to go in depth. They'll go in depth with like certain random bullshit stories that really no one particular cares about, or maybe it's like a feel-good story.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they just gloss over stuff like this. It's like guns are bad. We all know that. So here you go. Let's move on.
As far as TV Free Baltimore, sometimes I ask myself, okay, why am I doing this? And I have personal reasons. But then when I see the information that's coming out of TV Free Baltimore and also out of here, it's like these things are needed so people can hear the rest of the story, so to speak.
Yeah, I kind of like to think what we're doing is kind of like that movie, like Pump Up the Volume. With did you ever see that where Christian Slater does like the pirate radio show in his parents' basement? Yeah. So Anarchy Basement's kind of like that, Kyle.
Yeah, it is kind of like that. Yeah, it's independent media, and it's pretty cool. Like, you just, in this day and age, you can just get sets of microphones, a camera, stream live to basically the whole world. Anybody in the world can find you. And
For now.
You don't have to go through an established source to get your video out there.
Well,
I mean, YouTube is that concept too, right? YouTube, you've got these people that have 60 million views on YouTube, and they're just like average people. So it's really interesting.
And through things like Patreon, and you can find us at patreon.com/punkrocklibertarians. And for $1 a month, you can get access to our After Hours podcast. But through things like that, we're able to just basically just self-sustain. We're not raking in, we're not doing this full time. This isn't a full time job, but we're able to at least like pay for hosting and all that stuff just by.
Yeah, I still watch local news. I don't know. I like to. I hear about accidents, shootings, fires. That's the kind of stuff. I don't think there's a whole lot of propaganda in there because it's just like, well, you're reporting on a car accident or you're reporting on a robbery. There's not a whole lot of slant that you can put into that. Sometimes they do like lies of omission. They won't cover a story or a piece of legislation that's really important to us, and they just don't even bring it up.
Right. Yeah. So the next topic we had on the list was the Mueller report. I think you had wanted to discuss that, Phil.
So this pretty much pertains to Julian Assange. Of course, everyone's been trying to break down the Mueller report, and it pretty much released everything that we had already presumed, except for people in the camp of the Orange Man bad Trump, never Trump movement. Those people they're like, oh my God, this is damning. Like, oh my God, this is stuff that we should totally be able to have him get out of office for. Like, we could totally have him gone. This is proof right here. This is a proof. And
they're really talking about that one thing where he said something along the lines of, "I'm fucked" or something.
Yeah, I'm fucked.
Like, why didn't you stop this from happening? That sort of thing.
And it's as simple as, yeah, I'm fucked. There's now a new witch hunt by the most powerful media organizations against me. Shit, I'm fucked. And I don't like Trump. I mean, we're going to talk about it later, but, Trump, he's not I'm not a big apologist. Now they're analyzing the manner in which he said words, allegedly. Like, this still isn't definitive proof. And this particularly, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because they're trying to say now that Julian Assange was hiding the fact that it was the Russians who broke into the DNC emails, and he was using Seth Richards' smokescreen kind of to throw people off the scent of it being the Russians who actually broke into the DNC.
And Seth Richards, the guy that got killed?
The guy who got killed, the
by
DNC.
Hillary?
Yeah, exactly. You for me, you won't convince me otherwise. But I'll be called a crazy conspiracy theorist for and I haven't read the whole article. What the proof is for that? I'm so over the subject, and I don't know how much more time I can just give to it personally. I got a life, I got kids, it's just for me. This was DOA for me. Like, as soon as I heard about the Russians influenced the election, I mean, okay, they bought a bunch of whatever. They put out a bunch of Facebook accounts and they swayed maybe a handful of people's opinion. If that, like, I'm not even trying to give them that much credit. It's such a dumb topic, and it's such a pigeon. It's just something to distract us from the real issues that are going on in this country. And I don't know how much more I can give it. And I mean, here Julian Assange is, like a hero, for everything he's done, and they're just doing everything they can to just smear his name, and it's almost like vile at this point to me.
Well, I was listening to Rush Limbaugh the other day, and he's like,
"Oh, of course you were."
Yeah, obviously very mainstream, but I didn't listen to him for very long. But it's all Mueller report, Comey, and and he's like, and the crazy thing is, like, all these accusations, it was Hillary that was really doing it, and I was just like, man, politics today, there's no substantive conversation like when Ron Paul was running about policy. Right, it's almost just the reality circus of these characters and the report and the scandals. Like, that's what, when people say, "Oh, I follow politics," that's what it is, And it really, there's a little bit of policy, right? We're getting more with healthcare. We're getting a lot with immigration. So there's definitely some discussion there, but a lot of it is just the Trump circus, and I could really care less. That's why I had it on. And then I turned it off. I'm like, okay, I've heard everything you've had to say. And these guys, they do this for a living. They have to talk about the Mueller report for 3 hours a day, And then the next guy comes on and he talks about it for 3 hours. And that's talk radio. It's just, every day they talk about this.
I don't know how much more time people can give to this.
We just gave it a couple minutes.
And I think,
but you wanted to tie it to Assange, which I think is fair because that's interesting.
So they're trying to say that the whole that he, like, in a unscrupulous manner, tried to, ruin a dead man's name by saying, maybe he was the one who leaked the emails. Because a lot of things coming out that I've heard from people was that in order to download the emails, it couldn't have done that fast unless you were had like a thumb drive hooked to the computer to download those emails that fast.
It could be.
And one way or another, whatever. Like, but now they're trying to say, well, Julian Assange, tried to ruin his name by making that the story instead of covering up the fact it was the Russians who did it. It's the Russians. Everyone be scared. It's 1975. The Russians are evil.
One thing that totally sucked, really pisses me off is if you remember during the election, Trump was like, I love WikiLeaks.
Oh, yeah, dude.
When it was working out in his favor, now he's like, oh, yeah, I don't really know much about them. That'll be for somebody else.
Yeah. Dude, he's got like the backbone of a fucking jellyfish. Seriously, fuck Trump for that shit. Like, that pissed me off so bad. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Dude, this is my opinion. This is my crazy conspiracy theory, but it's just, he went ahead with the deep state and he won the first round, but he ended up losing the whole fight. I mean, clearly his fact that he just shit on and abandoned WikiLeaks and
so you think
Assange,
that was Trump getting bent over by the deep state?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or is it really like at that point, Trump didn't really have anything to gain from WikiLeaks, I guess, too.
Yeah, well, to play a little bit of status advocate,
Kyle's advocate.
Is there something to be said for the fact that he didn't just say, like, yeah, WikiLeaks is a danger to...
Of course.
Assange should be in jail. Like, should we give him any credit for that or no?
Okay, no, because he could end this whole bullshit charade with one little stroke of his pen. That Obama's famous quote.
That's the 4D chess move that everyone thinks is coming.
Well,
right?
Yeah, I don't believe in the 4D underwater backgammon bullshit. Like, it's clear to me that he... I mean, like, look what he's done with Israel. Like, he's bent over backwards for Israel. He's now been more complacent and more doing the bidding of what you would think that these neocon deep state people are doing. And for me, it just kind of reconfirms my opinion on this whole thing, that he fought round one, against Comey and the deep state, and he won, and they just came back and they said, look, dude, we're going to release every bad thing we can against you. And that's why he said, I'm fucked. To me, that's why I feel like he said, I'm fucked. Like, I got to play nice. I'll make this whole Mueller investigation go away. I think he was...
So you think they found something in the investigation, now they're hiding it?
No, I think he was set up. when they, the whole, meeting, was it the Moscow meeting, whatever, when Donald Jr. went there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that was a setup just to get them to come on over and meet and sit down with them and come on, and so they could say, he was meeting with the Russians. He was meeting with the Russians before the election. You know, that it was trying to just besmirch his name or whatever.
Okay, well, say like, you know, I've never been one to believe in the Russian collusion, but to just say maybe this is a little out there. Say, what if they did find something, right, and they didn't want to release it because they didn't want the rest of the world to know that Russia could actually influence our election?
But I think they want that narrative. They want that narrative. They're that's what they're screaming about, screeching about.
Because that way they can.
policy.
I mean, I think you're probably right.
Because
I'm
they
just
can.
saying, like,
I know.
Because if they can prove that, then they can enforce more control, right?
Well, that's
they
what
can
they're
do
doing.
more things to suppress social media and get rid of bots, in quotation marks.
Can you still read WikiLeaks? Is it still up?
Yeah, you can still read WikiLeaks.
Oh yeah.
How do I find WikiLeaks?
WikiLeaks.com, whatever.
You can do
Like,
Google.
or
fucking
Google.
So if I Google WikiLeaks, it comes up,
Yeah.
and all the stuff, everything is still out there. All these classified documents from Chelsea Manning and all the DNC emails, I can read all that stuff on there. Nice.
So
Yeah.
and that's
Maybe
Maybe
I
I should
should-
by keyword too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
you
type
can
in
search-
Clinton
yep.
and you'll get a million things.
I can't believe after all this that it's all still just allowed to be.
Well, who's going to take it down? It's not hosted in America. It's probably not on like GoDaddy.
They could block it. I'm sure that they can block
I mean,
it.
they'd have to get Google. They'd have to get the.
Like that would be really hard to be like, Google, do this. You know?
Well, they'd have to
but-
get Google, and they'd have to get the ISPs, and
Yeah, and then they would definitely catch some heat.
yeah, they would
'cause
certainly catch heat. That would definitely be a violation of the First Amendment.
I don't know, man. I think they could easily take it down if they wanted to, or at least block our access. I'm sure there's websites that they've done that too.
Yeah, but they're usually like under the guise. Well, I don't know if they have, man. I mean, you have service or you have hosts that will take down stuff. Like GoDaddy took down a bunch of their white nationalist clients.
That's true.
Dude, what if they
but-
blocked access to Kyle Wagner's dank meme community?
Yeah, that would be a tragedy. I'm sure that's. I don't think it's on the radar. Luckily. No, all right.
No,
have
yeah,
you guys
they just don't do
actually
that.
read the stuff? Like, have you
done it.
read the docs? Have you read?
I've read a few, not many. I mean,
It's just fun to search because you can do keyword search. So you can just search for just crazy stuff like butt plug and just see if it comes up. You know.
little side.
That's what you do on there.
Jared searched butt plug on WikiLeaks, but
And
no.
they
Be
come up.
surprised by
But
your
think
results.
about it. How unnerving is it to find Nick Sarwark's name when you search in WikiLeaks? See,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
a
so-
little unnerving.
So
to
you
me.
find him on that whole gift registry thing or whatever, the gift list.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I didn't put any stock in that. He was like, "Oh yeah, I had a magazine subscription for my brother
several $1,000s
like
or
12
whatever.
years ago."
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it was? Several
Yeah.
$1,000s.
It was a lot. It's a lot to subscribe to that.
I
For a car salesman.
I don't think Nick Sarwark is like an asset or something.
I don't
you know what I mean?
It
Like,
makes, I don't like to be too conspiracy
I mean,
theorist.
yeah,
about
I
it,
think
but-
we're blowing a little bit of smoke
Yeah.
up our own asses if we think that the LP is worth like an FBI asset.
yeah. And I mean, having gone to the convention, you see the people with the "Stick with Nick" stickers. Like, he's pretty popular in the Libertarian
Stick with
Party.
Nick. Oh my
That was his slogan. And yeah,
dick with the
Sounds so
stick,
gay, dude.
it just they like the way he
Like
runs
Dick
the
and
meetings in particular.
I can't. I find that so absurd. Like, there's a meme from Meet the Parents where it shows the father, and he's like, where he says, I have nipples. You can milk. Can you milk me, Greg? And it's funny. It says like, I can run a meeting. Can I be the leader of the LNC or whatever? It's just so stupid. Like, but anyway, going back to this whole subject. Back to we were talking about the first topic. The reason why we got our page taken down and why each one of Matt, Jared, me, and a few other people who we got our personal pages taken down. Like,
Wow.
it wasn't just the group. It was
Temporarily,
anyone,
yeah.
temporarily. They took it down. They made us in order to restore our accounts. We had to take pictures of ourselves to verify who we were
From Facebook.
From Facebook.
Wow.
And that was all predicated off this bullshit narrative, this slight half truth that was exaggerated to prove we weren't Russian bots because they rigged the election. So
Never
and then
mind
now,
the fact that my account has been active since 2009.
right? And here's another thing: is bullshit too. Is
2008 maybe.
we talked about this before, but Facebook gave me. They said, "Oh, your post is doing good. We're going to give you a $15 credit to boost any post you want."
Right.
So I boosted a post that reached a lot of people. I wanted to reach more. about Julian Assange, and I posted it, and it said, "Okay, your post is doing great. We've already reached 12 people in the first few seconds." And all of a sudden, a minute later, it took it down and said, "Sorry, it's in past our politics."
Right.
Code or whatever.
Smith
So
Right.
yeah, exactly. And so then I said, okay. So then I went to just a generic thing, promote the podcast.
Right.
I went to go ahead and promote the podcast. I typed in a little description, like it's like 40 characters you can put in.
Right.
Nothing extravagant. Just as punk rock libertarians. I just gave a description of what people we've had on, and it said, sorry, you need to verify yourself not through. You can't use the app. You have to use an actual computer to do this
right.
in order to verify you because you're talking about politics.
Right.
I'm like, motherfucker, you gave me the $15 credit. I'm just trying to use the credit you gave me because you said we were doing such a good job.
Yeah, well, for TV Free Baltimore, I get every time I post something on Facebook, it says, boost this for $21 and you'll reach X amount of people. And I said, okay, I'll boost it. And then it comes back, sorry, we can't boost this because it has political content in it.
That's bullshit.
It is bullshit.
Any political content now, or is that just what they say to you?
Well, that's what they say to us. But remember, we're interviewing libertarians, and we're talking about pro 2A guys and freedom of speech. And
so before the election, for several days, I would say maybe at least 7 days, I got on my personal page. It kept showing me this local guy who was running for whatever.
Was it Johnny Oloweski or something?
Was he running for the Green Party?
I don't know.
He was running for the Green Party, but he was legit. If you read his comments and went to he was a legit communist. Mm-hmm. And all of his things were being posted as sponsored ads, for the people and revolution. It was straight up communist that they were pushing on me. So he managed to pass that screening.
I thought you were a communist.
Well,
no, man.
Do you guys know who Kevin Caldwell is? He ran for Congress.
I do, yeah.
On the libertarian, as a libertarian. Well, he went through the whole process of being qualified to post political stuff on Facebook and boost stuff and all that kind of stuff. And as soon as he got through the whole process and they said you're good, they shut his page down.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's annoying because I personally, Facebook for me, that politics is what I use it for.
Right.
I want to talk politics with people. I want to spread my ideas. I want to, that some people like animal pictures. Some people like food stuff. Some people do pictures of their families. For me, Facebook is a political venue or, So as a user, for them to say, we don't want to be a political page, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go somewhere where, give me something else that does have political talk because that's why I'm there.
Yeah.
They want to relegate us to groups. They want to say, okay, we don't want this showing up on people's timelines. You and your crazy political,
That's the thing.
identities.
You don't see them shutting down groups.
They don't shut down groups. They don't. They want us isolated. They want us essentially isolated and off out of people's sight. That's why. So when people say, "Oh, but screw this, let's just go to MeWe, let's just go to Minds," well, that's just kind of us just in our own echo
show
chamber.
up on people's
Right.
timelines.
They can. I do. A lot of people will like something on.
That's why we leave the PRL group public.
Yeah. So it is public.
be
Anyone
careful.
can join. Yeah.
Well, even if it's a page, if somebody has liked your page, they're expressing that they have enough of an interest that they don't mind that page's post coming up in their feed. And if they don't want that, they can unlike and unfollow the page. So I don't think it should be I don't think Facebook should censor that. But I understand it's Facebook. They're going to do whatever they want to do.
Hey, Kyle, I wish I could unfollow government.
Yeah.
Good luck.
But talking about censorship, I think one of the problems also with the legacy media, the consolidation. Now, 90% of the mainstream media in the United States is controlled by either 3 or 6 corporations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then when you look at what they're doing on the evening news for the nation, and then you look at what they're doing locally, it's just the same stuff. And they're to me, it's just I can't take it anymore. And talking about social media censorship, I want to be clear to your viewers, we're not so much this. We build a stage for somebody like Kevin Caldwell to come and say, I'm running for Congress as a libertarian, and here's why. And we give people like him the ability to come and speak. And that's something a little bit different in the fact that we're having problems with Facebook and YouTube and social media. To me, that blows my mind because these are legitimate people that are running, registered, and are running for political office locally.
Yeah, like they're participating in the system.
Right. They're participating in democracy, but yet they're being censored. Libertarians are definitely a minority party. Okay, so any opportunity to get them out there in any way should be allowed.
You think that, but it's not. It's just constantly being pushed to the side, and that's what drives me crazy. I mean, you think about it, like honestly, we're the third biggest party in the country, right? I mean,
Right.
is that any dispute to that? I mean, we're a distant third, but we're third.
It is
right?
a distant third, yeah.
I mean, Green Party probably jockeying for Green Party back and forth, but for the most part, you think that somehow we've just you go through this butcher's dozen of public indoctrination, camps in school. Like they teach you, well, it's just a two-party system. That's two parties, just two. You have one or two, pick one or the other. And I think, and it just starts from the beginning. Like we need to teach kids that, like, if you are going to participate in the system, we're here. Like as a libertarian in the party, we're here. We're in your system that we're following by your rules, but yet you're still relegating us to the way distant third.
And actually, the way that our system works, it's actually set up in a good way for libertarians because we have what we call simple majority, single member districts. That means whoever gets the most amount of votes out of the number of candidates are winning, they win the election. So you don't have to get over 50%. So if you had let's say you had a Republican, a Democrat, a Libertarian, and a Green Party, and let's say it went 30, 30, 31, and then the Green got the rest of them, the person that got 31% would win, despite the fact that the majority of the population voted for other candidates. So the system is kind of set up in a way that would help libertarians. But you got to be able to get your message out there.
Mm-hmm. I'm like one. I don't think that we are bound to the LP or to to the party.
Right.
An idea can be spread through any party. You could run as a Democrat. You can run as a Republican. It doesn't matter which party you run through. You can espouse your ideas, and I mean, it might go against the grain of what the party wants, but
yeah, but at the end of the day, I don't really care what Nick thinks is what's good for him.
Yeah, I don't need to come at you as a registered libertarian in order to tell you libertarian ideas and convince you of libertarian ideas. So, we shouldn't necessarily feel like, okay, we can't take another route or run as other candidates, and that's what we're going to have to do if the LP doesn't get their ballot access back in Maryland by 2020. We're going to have to, get back. See if we can run some candidates in the Republican Party or the Democratic Party.
I think the state party, and this is just my opinion, they should run candidates with the understanding that they're not going to win, but focus on local questions or policies where they can partner up with people and help get those policies adopted. That's, if I was running, at least use their running as a platform to speak about ideas and issues and try to find people that agree with that, and then maybe work. It was very early, and they were already announcing on the radio that the governor had won re-election. So I went in and saw Sean. I was like, sorry. He's like, for what? And I'm like, well, he lost. Hogan already won. He's like, what? That's not on here. I was like, I just heard it on the radio. I mean, you didn't know that was going to happen? He was upset.
Yeah, there's a kind of like a confidence you kind of have to have running where you're like, people like that. They like confidence.
That's not confidence. It's like just illusion, man.
Well,
you gotta be realistic,
I understand, but
Like,
would you vote for someone who's like, I know I'm going to lose? Would you vote for someone who's going out saying, I know I'm going to lose, but I don't really care. I'm just here for
You don't have to say that.
You don't say that, but in your head,
but
from the polls that you're, polling 1%
Well,
or whatever, and that you have no chance.
Hey, dude, Donald Trump was polling at 1% apparently.
All right, shit.
At one point.
My thing is like, look, you have to understand your place, but maybe kind of. Like, that's just not what people want to hear, man. They want to hear confidence in yourself, confidence in the message, confidence in your beliefs, and I think. I want the party to represent what I feel like the party should be, not this Republican light bullshit that we're constantly fed. We're like, well, we're socially,
but that's
liberal, financially conservative.
That's due to the
Fiscally.
pragmatism of trying to win. Whereas if they just came out there, were like, yeah, secretly in their head they know like we're not going to win, but they would behave as though they were confident in their ideas and confident in the popularity of their ideas and espouse actual libertarian stuff instead of like you said, Republican light. to maybe capture a few extra votes and I don't know, maybe get like 5% of the vote.
Okay, but think about it.
Who? I mean, although hold on, to be fair though, they do have to stay on the ballot, so maybe that factors in. Although they've
that
failed
definitely
at that.
factors in.
What's that?
That definitely factors in.
Sure, yeah.
You want to be a recognized party for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that.
But not with compromising your own values.
No, not compromising. Yeah. But if, again, just my opinion, if I was running the state party, I'd say, okay, let's pick the 3 things that are most important to us. Everybody get out there, sing from the same sheet of music. And when Annapolis goes into session, let's try to get these 3 bills passed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I think like what you were saying, Jared, is like who's more confident than Arvin Vohra?
Right, exactly.
He's a confident guy,
but I don't know that Arvin Vohra believes he's going to win. It's heart of hearts. You know what I mean?
Of course not. And I think every libertarian.
But that's what he's saying is like this guy was the people that you saw were like glued to their phone. Like it would actually matter instead of like going around and maybe.
I just want to people. I like what Arvin's saying. I may not love what Arvin says, but I like what he says, and I like the manner in which he says it. It's very blunt, harsh. Yeah. It kind of shatters your thought process when you hear it. A lot of the stuff he says, and I think when you're confident in the beliefs and you're confident in the message that you're trying to say, you don't have to be confident you're going to win necessarily, but you have to be confident in what you're saying and be able to debate those points. And I think that's what people want to hear. That confidence shows through. And sometimes people kind of say, well, when so for example, I used to hear Austin Peterson when he was in the debates, when he's talking, he's like, well, when I'm president, when I'm elected president, and he kept on saying that. And I'm like, it kind of got on my nerves. I'm like, dude, you're not going to be president. But I feel like at the same time, how would I feel if he was like, well, if there was a slight chance I was president, this is what I would do. I'd be kind of like, oh, that's kind of wimpy, as just like a voter, like in the system.
He's a good example of the fake confidence, or fake it till you make it, right? That's what they say.
I guess. So I want the message to be clear, and I want the party that's supposed to represent our beliefs to represent our beliefs, not just this wishy-washy. Well, he can bring us a lot of money and recognition, so. Yeah. Let's just go with the socially liberal, financially conservative moniker.
Fiscally conservative.
Fiscally, whatever.
It's really hard to find qualified candidates. Like, it's really hard to find somebody that is principled, that has a resume, that has some real credentials that the public's going to take seriously as a candidate. I mean, it's kind of like, you have to. Trump didn't have political experience, but he ran $1 billion company. Usually it's senators, it's congressmen, it's people who have worked their way up through local offices to the executive branch. Mm-hmm. So it's very hard to come in there as just like somebody with no political experience.
A meme page owner.
Yeah, I run and Peterson struggled with that. It was like, well, what have you done in the world? And he's like, well, I was co-producer on a television show with Judge Napolitano. I mean, he just didn't have a very big life resume.
Right.
And he tried to kind of obscure that fact, but it was a knock against him. Meanwhile, Gary Johnson, although yes, he's a wishy-washy candidate, had been a governor.
Yeah,
that's a big feather in your cap. That's why they always beat the drum, like I'm former governor.
Yeah.
Can I get your guys' opinion about something? Because we've interviewed a lot of libertarians over at TV Free Baltimore. They're all on YouTube if people want to watch them. But the one critique, if I had one, was like too much in the skies, too much in the cloud kind of stuff, not enough practicality. And I'd really like libertarians to come in and say, look, we want these 3 bills passed next year in the General Assembly because. So it's not so much theory, but practicality. I think the party needs more practicality and partner up with elected politicians that can bring those practical results into law.
Which 3 bills do you have 3 in mind that you think are more important?
I'm just throwing the idea.
3 bills.
Right.
Yeah, I mean they talk about having a key issue or having something when you run. Like, what's your big thing? Like, what do you want to be known as? A lot of candidates, like they say, like, okay, this is the marijuana. A lot of when I was at the LP events, a lot of the candidates, when they were appealing for nomination, marijuana was their thing, and it's like, okay, how many marijuana candidates are we gonna have? Like, they were all. And they would ask them other questions, and they would be like, I don't know, but pot, that's what I'm all about. And like, okay, I got that,
Yeah.
What else you got? But so I think we need to expand beyond that. I think it's an important issue. It's already trending in the right direction, which I think is good. But like, okay, like what else you got? And local office, you can't do foreign policy because it's not a local issue.
And that seems to be a big
So
thing
what else?
for libertarians, you know. So it's like, how can we affect the war issue? Is kind of the main source for me, like foreign policy. That's where Tulsi Gabbard.
But if
I'm a fan of.
It depends on what office you're running for.
Yeah,
it does.
So if
depend,
you're running for like your state representative, which is a local election, then that does matter, right? Because like they're going to sit in Congress, they're going to be the ones that are supposed to declare war.
Yeah, you're not going to talk about foreign policy as a local candidate, like it
Right.
Just
Not if you're running for like city
county
council or
council
something. Yeah.
or even the state house. Like
Right.
those, you don't have a say in foreign policy.
But
That's
I mean, there's plenty of issues.
yeah.
You know.
Well, let me ask you guys another question. What were the 3 main things that Sean Quinn ran on for governor? I mean, we're sitting in a room of libertarians, and if we don't know, who else would know?
Well, he was very. I mean, probably followed his campaign a lot, and I would say, you know, the gun issue was a huge thing, especially around like,
and rightfully so.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, really, I couldn't really, you know, I can't right now tell you exactly what other thing he was running on other than the gun issue.
Right.
He'd make a Facebook post here and there about certain things, but nothing that really.
And this
resonates really well with me
this
right
is
now.
what I'm talking about. Okay, you've got a guy running for governor. Okay, we all know about individual sovereignty and limited government and legalization of pot. But, you know, give me 3 clear-cut pieces of legislation that you want to get passed if you're elected, or if you're not elected, who are you going to partner up with to make sure those bills are A, introduced, B, who's going to support them, and do they have a real possibility of passing?
Well, I mean, when you say partner up with, I'm just like, I cringe a little bit, you know, because I feel like the politicians that get elected.
That's good. That's good.
I feel like the politicians that get elected are typically sleazeballs that were able to rise to the top of this trash heap. So it's like, I'm not really interested in partnering up with them. You know, I'm more interested in delivering a message and making my peers think, or helping them to think, you know. And then
But you're not in the political sphere.
I'm not, and I don't really think anything starts in the political sphere. I think it kind of starts in the ideological sphere, and then once you go from there, hopefully it'll head over to that, you know. But I think first and foremost, I mean, for me, like, and you know, I'm just saying, this is my opinion. This is what I think. You know, you can do whatever the fuck you want, and then Kyle can do whatever the fuck he wants, and some guy over there can do what they want. And who's to say who's right or who has the best approach? You know, and we should work together at the same time as well. But you know, first and foremost, I'm just about getting ideas out there to my peers, ideas of liberty. You know, and I've said, you know, number 1, you know, my issues, foreign policy. Number 2, it would probably be the drug war. You know, because we have got like a huge number of people in prison. We got the largest incarceration rate in the world. A lot of those people are in prison for nonviolent drug crimes. You got people who had a bunch of weed back in the 60s who are doing life sentences. You know, they're still in fucking jail. You know, you've got people who have gotten life sentences for joints. You know, I feel like that needs to end. And then from there, I mean, I feel like our most important right is the right to bear arms. You know,
Right.
And that's just your last defense against tyranny.
Right.
And yeah, so those would probably be my top 3 issues.
Okay, so you were very supportive of what the current governor did as far as getting all these people out of prison, nonviolent people out of prison.
Well, I don't like some things that he did. Like, as far as, I think you should get people out of prison. I think after somebody's paid their debt to society in prison, you know, they should be allowed to vote. They should be allowed to own a gun to defend themselves, because they still have the right of self-defense. You know, the things I don't like that Hogan did, he wasn't a fan of the decriminalization, and I heard for a minute there he was trying to get people to crack down on like paraphernalia, because that stuff was technically still illegal. I'm not sure if he's doing that or not now, but I heard that's something he wanted to do. I don't like how he signed off on the red flag laws. I think the red flag laws are bullshit. Right. And I think, you know, somebody that serves those unconstitutional laws deserves to get shot. And I don't have any sympathy for them if they do get shot, you know, because that's our right to bear arms. That's our right to defend ourselves and our family and our property. Right. And, you know, if they're taking that away from people without due process, anybody who does it, you know, deserves to get fucking shot. And that's why we have the Second Amendment. It's not so rednecks can bag deer.
Right.
It's not so drug dealers can kill each other.
Right.
It's so you can shoot redcoats. You know,
Right.
and these are the redcoats of 2019. The people that are serving these red flag laws.
Right.
Shit, son.
Ran.
Hey, before we run out of time, let's hit this Fakertarians topic.
Yeah, good,
Yeah.
good. Yeah. So, Kyle, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, they had made a post about this girl, Kat Snyder, who apparently was involved in the South Carolina LP, and then on the side, she was assisted with organizing the Unite the Right 2 rally, apparently. And Fakertarians, they've kind of become a libertarian movement police. You know, they expose far right and far left, and particularly target people that say they're libertarians or have been affiliated with libertarians in the past. You know, like Augustus Invictus.
Yep. Yeah.
And they said like Lauren Southern, you know, they said she's a Fakertarian. She's kind of gone further right. So I don't know. That it's an interesting page, an interesting concept that they've got going there.
Do you think they fall into like the whole like no true libertarian fallacy thing at all, or do you think they're generally balanced?
I think in general that they're usually right. Like the people that they're calling out usually are really not libertarians or have really, you know, like Chris Cantwell. There's one where maybe he was an ANCAP at one time, but whatever he is now he's a white nationalist,
right?
And basically the face of white nationalism after the Vice episode.
Right.
So you
The
really
ugly face of white nationalism.
It does kind of serve a purpose to call these people out and get them and say, look, these people are not. You can't sit with us anymore. You know what I mean? Like you cannot continue to have yourself associated with people that just go so far off the reservation, and you know. So I just from a theatric standpoint, it's an entertaining page to follow. Yeah, you know, and
one of the targets until recently was Matt Kuhnel, who was the leader of was he the Audacious Party or the other one?
I think
LibSci.
There's Audacious and Libertarian Socialist Caucus of the LP, and they're ANCOMs. Matt in particular kind of went more just regular communist. I mean, I think he was sympathetic to some dictators, some far left dictators like Stalin, and
he's
like
a tanky.
He became a tanky essentially.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can like if you compare him to someone like our favorite person, sort of against governments, against.
He's an
while I disagree with like a lot of what he says and like his whole identity politics thing, I would say he is some flavor of a libertarian.
Of course, yeah, and that's
but
why
this Matt Kuhnel guy, definitely not. I mean, he's like posting like positive pictures of supporting Stalin and
saying
Kim
like
Jong Un.
Yeah,
like Kim Jong Un.
Yeah,
I think
he does.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean,
he was just trying to like infiltrate,
but
he failed. So
I think he did make one post where he admitted, like, the idea was to take over the LP and make it far left.
Yeah, that was what he wanted.
Which was always a strange plan, and it was strange to see these guys at the convention, the Socialist Caucus, and it's like, what are you doing here? You know, like,
so do you know what got him to so? The lead is I'm kind of burying it here, but he left the LP.
Yeah, he did. He's either going to work through the Democratic Party or the Socialist Party, right? But I guess he's abandoned his attempts.
Do you know what his reasoning, his like final straw?
No, what was it?
So like they decided to go with like I guess they pick a theme every year for the LP, right?
Oh yeah.
And it was that acronym that is like there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Yeah.
And that was so offensive to him because it like undermined, I don't know, impoverished people. I don't know, it was racist, something like that. Like
all the above.
I mean, it's literally just like an economic, not a fallacy. I guess an economic law. Essentially, it's like nothing's free. Like there's a cost applied to everything, whether it's psychic or money or whatever. There's a cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no free energy in the world, and somehow that was the final straw, which is just bizarre. I'm sure he just realized he wasn't gonna.
I heard
pick this time to leave.
According to Arvin, and Kapistan was in the running.
That was second place. Yeah.
That was second place. Are you kidding me?
Kapistan was second place.
Oh my gosh.
So it was pretty funny, but I think there's a clear distinction between Kuhnel and Shipley, even though Shipley's identity politics are just mind-numbingly annoying. I think it's separate from the actual communist
He's not a tanky,
praising, communist that Matt Kuhnel was. And even Shipley and Kuhnel got into it because Shipley was like, I'm done with your bullshit. Like, you're fuck you. And they had a falling out a while ago, a few months ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they did. And both of them were just like, fuck you. Like, and I agree. And so, because the big thing was Shipley wanted bottom unity, like unity between the socialists, the libertarians, like bottom unity. That was their
Can
big
we said
Can we
that,
talk
but then he
about
would
this?
ostracize. Then he would ostracize
because
the ANCAPs.
because the identity politics in them.
They've reoriented the political diamond that I saw was a diamond shape, and then somehow it became a square.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
the square actually changes the spectrum from libertarian, authoritarian, like left and right. It changes it to kind of. I'm trying to think how to express this.
Like the more bottom you are, I believe the more. That's where the freedom spectrum went, right?
Yeah, it was liberty and it was authoritarian on
Yeah,
one
and
end
then-
and liberty on the other end. And liberty used to be at the top,
Right.
and then it got and like authoritarian was down at the bottom. That was
But I think
undesirable.
they split it amongst. I think it's economic goes top to bottom, and then social goes left to right.
Yeah,
And so,
bottom section. And I mean, it's just crazy, these political spectrums. But I always thought, and I think Kuhnel admitted, it was a takeover attempt. It was never about unity. It was never about working together. It was always about changing the LP to be a left-wing organization.
but like you were saying, why? Like the LP
People have all kinds of dumb ideas in life, like we all
like the
do
LP is like
stupid
not worth
things.
the effort. I'm sorry.
I agree. It's like trying to take over,
Yeah, it's like instead of trying to take over McDonald's, you take over like the shitty burger shack on the corner.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, great, you can pay yourself minimum wage now. Cool.
Yeah. It's a good,
Yeah.
Yeah, but Fakertarians is a great group and page where they call out a lot of people for their bullshit, and they get a lot of inside information of people who claim to be libertarian, but like Augustus, like who I never trusted from the moment I first heard about him.
yeah.
I
Well,
never
the first
trusted
story that
dude.
came out with him about him was like him sacrificing goats and shit.
Yeah, I said,
right?
well, that guy's not a libertarian. Like, and then for a few years after, like, no, he really is. He's like into Hoppe and all these other. And I'm like, no, the guy, he's like a crater faced loser. Like, the guy just completely just. I don't know. He like sirens, like my spider senses would go up in my system. Like every time people talk about Augustus, and I just
He had
I
a
knew.
fake persona, fake
Yeah.
accent, fake persona, and he would do these like fireside chat kind of YouTube
Yep.
videos that were modeled after FDR or whatever. And he would talk about philosophy, political philosophy, and I remember him, praising fascism and talking about fascism and in a favorable light. And I was like, this is a very interesting speech coming from a libertarian Senate candidate. So. I heard he's in California trying to make inroads into the Republican Party over there. But just a crazy guy. There's a lot of
Why
people.
would you pick California?
There's a lot of awful people in this movement. We've all seen them.
Yep.
Van Gutier is on our list here. He was Adam Kokesh's former campaign manager. I guess he just got convicted of assault. The article that I read said that he put a pillow over a girl's face and punched her through it. So I don't know.
Jesus
that's
Christ.
part of what the
Did not hear
charges
that.
were. So
Yeah, I didn't hear that either. I've been friends with him on Facebook for a few years, and I remember when he was like this diehard libertarian ANCAP, and now I guess he still is, but at the same time he's this diehard Trumper who smokes weed every day. He's got all these pictures of him like hitting the bowl or doing like live videos of him like smoking a blunt, talking some ridiculous stuff. But he's a pretty entertaining person to be friends with on Facebook. I can just say that about him.
no, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
I think Kokesh is pretty crazy, and I think Van was probably pretty crazy too. I don't know.
Yeah. Do we know how long he's in the big house for?
Not very long. I heard like he got like a 15-day sentence or something, which I thought was extremely light for an assault case. But
That's
Yeah.
very interesting.
yeah,
Definitely.
Whatever.
But okay, so on Wednesday night, Jared, Phil, and I are going to be on your program, TB Free Baltimore.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So,
Oh, yeah.
and
Well, it's going to be pre-recorded, and it will go out the next Sunday, so a week from today. Whatever date that is.
Cool,
Nice.
cool, yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to plug that. So look for that coming soon. Maybe head on over to Facebook, search TV Free Baltimore, and throw those guys a like. You know,
I would appreciate it.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. We appreciate you coming on, and in turn having us on your show. That's awesome. We'll have to have you on again here sometime if you're down.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, yeah, I think that's probably about it for tonight. I'd like to remind people that we have T-shirts, hoodies, patches at libertariancountry.com. And if you type in the code PRL or the code PRL podcast, you'll receive a 10% discount.
Mm-hmm.
And until next time, live free.
Or die.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
We're probably still streaming live on something. So.
Are we?
Yeah.
All right, we're good.
All right, cool. Well, there we go.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're welcome to stay. We do